Hello. So, it is that time again. We are so close to the NBA season, and you know what that means. Predictions are on the way. Especially for this video, who will win the NBA awards, who will get MVP, six man, etc. So, let's begin. For starters, I do want to get the obvious ones out of the way. First one being Rookie of the Year. Not a surprise, to me this award is Cooper Flag's to lose. Now, Ace Bailey can make some noise with how he's looking in preseason, and if that can translate to this upcoming season. Plus, Edgecombe might be more of a focal point in Philly's offense than I initially thought, because when you combine the unreliable injury history of both Embiid and PG-13, along with the fact that McCain will miss the beginning portion of the season, it just leads to me having a strong feeling we'll see a lot more VJ possessions. However, despite all of that, it's still Cooper Flag, man. I mean, just the amount of potential he has on both sides of the ball is so enticing, especially defensively. On this Mavs team, I can't wait to watch, and I'm not gonna lie, it might get pretty scary for the rest of the league. Next up, we have Defensive Player of the Year. Again, unsurprisingly, I have Wemby winning this. Now, although there's a part of me that wants to see a guard at least have a chance to win, because you have guys like Dyson Daniels and the Thompson twins making a name for themselves, Wemby's just that unreal, man. It's only been 1.5 seasons, and his impact has been tremendous. You add that to the fact that he has a lot more room to grow, a lot more areas to improve on. Plus, he received mentorship from both CP3 and Coach Popovich these past seasons, so we're potentially looking at a very intelligent and terrorizing presence for years to come. I mean, just thinking about how many DPOYs he can add to his resume, you can just go on ahead and cue the LeBron meme. Not one, not two, not three, not four. He is that unbelievable. Now, I do have a dark horse for this award, because although I feel like the media is not really sure how capable he can be, it's still worth mentioning that he deserves a lot of flowers, and that man is Toumani Camara. He is truly so versatile, and I'm not kidding when I say he is everywhere in Portland's defense. He can guard 1 through 5, he led the league in charges drawn this past season, and on numerous possessions, he can be seen giving multiple opposing star players fits. But what stood out to me the most was that he was like a quarterback in a sense. He was the main communicator, telling guys where to switch, where he would help, etc. So yeah, he might be under the radar, but not in this channel, not here. So shout out to Toumani. And last obvious award is Clutch Player of the Year. I'll be honest, it wasn't that obvious to decide the winner, as I had two very good options. I had either Cade Cunningham winning this or Paolo Banchero, because already in their young careers, both of them have shown they can step up and be the man. Detroit and Orlando have gone through many games where things went down to the wire, where every possession and point matters essentially. And the two stars already have a significant collection of not just hitting clutch shots, but very difficult clutch shots. Like, some of these were not easy. So yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if both of them continue to be super clutch this upcoming season and happen to snag the award. Now we will transition to awards that are a little bit more mysterious, ones where we don't really know who the winner would be. Let's start with Coach of the Year. And it was tough because a part of me did want to go with Jamal Mosley and the Orlando Magic, because I feel like he fits the recent trend that's been happening with these Coach of the Year award winners. When you look at previous seasons, the award seems to be given to coaches that pull off surprising results. I'll refer to examples. I think it started with Coach Mike Brown, where no one really expected Sacramento to be the 3rd seed at the time. And recently, you have Kenny Atkinson, where everyone knew the Cavs were going to be good, but let's be real, no one really expected them to jump to 64 wins and the number 1 seed in the East ahead of the Boston Celtics. And how I see the Orlando Magic, they can surprise a lot of people. They can fit that bill and jump to a higher seed and take the media by surprise, most importantly. Now, I'm not saying that these coaches didn't deserve this achievement, but my gripe with this recent trend is that it kind of sweeps coaches who have more dominant records under the rug. I mean, another example is Mark Daigneault. Not only was he in charge of a historic defense, he led OKC to 68 wins, yet he wasn't even a part of the top 3 nominees. That's what I mean. That's the type of scenario that's kind of been happening. So that's a big reason as to why I was leaning a little bit towards Mosley. But the more I thought about it, man, Coach Daigneault, there's something about him that I can't really escape. Looking at this OKC team, just how young they are and how much they could potentially get better, which is crazy to say in itself. Yet you look like guys like J-Dub, Chet Holmgren, Kaysen Wallace. They haven't really hit their primes yet. Like, there's still a lot more room to grow. So we could be looking at another season where maybe the defense gets a little bit better and we see a lot more steals and deflections. Another factor as to why I believe Coach Daigneault can win Coach of the Year, and this is the biggest one, is improvement in half-court offense. I'm not sure what the offensive rating was. I'm not sure what the statistics had said, but based on my eye test, it wasn't the greatest. Now don't get me wrong, there was a healthy supply of ghost screens, nice post passes from Hartenstein. SGA and Jalen Williams still got their daily dose of buckets. Still, there were multiple times, especially against teams that had greater half-court sets like Indiana and Denver, where they were struggling. If it can be much more efficient, if much more open looks can be created, if things don't get too predictable, then I feel like that'll help Coach Dagnall's candidacy for Coach of the Year become much more prevalent. So yeah, that's my Coach of the Year prediction, and now we move on to my 6th Man of the Year prediction. I have 2 cases, one of which is more feasible than the others. Let's start with that actually. Let's go with Miles McBride from the New York Knicks. Just looking at this situation, I'd say a lot of things go in Miles' favor when you look at the potential for New York to be the #1 seed in the East. Not to mention Coach Mike Brown puts more of an emphasis on bench play than Coach Thibodeau did. I'd say this allows the perfect opportunity for McBride to step up and help the Knicks reach new heights essentially. His level of play is the biggest reason as to why I feel so comfortable, because not only does it seem like he's getting better each season, but he's very good on both sides of the ball as well. Not just defensively, offensively is where I feel like he can take huge strides. We've seen in multiple games, he can score on all 3 areas of the floor. He has a healthy variety of threes and mid-rangers. On some nights, he can drive to the rim efficiently, and I feel like the possibility of him being more aggressive, just demanding the ball more, is definitely possible. You know, a lot of good stuff can happen from that, and I'm a firm believer that if McBride is allowed to get more possessions and he can continue to improve on all aspects of scoring, we will not only see him win 6th Man of the Year, we will see a more complete version of him. My next candidate, who is seen as less feasible to win, is Tari Eason. And I say less feasible because the media doesn't really focus on defensive specialists like Tari. As we've seen in previous winners, in Peyton Pritchard, Tyler Hero, Jordan Clarkson, they're all bucket getters. Tari Eason can occasionally get buckets, but not at the rate that those guys do. He more than makes up for it though with his defensive energy and hustle, 2 significant factors in which I believe can propel him to 6th Man of the Year talks. Because while he is an extremely talented perimeter defender, his biggest strength to me is his energy. It is simply irreplaceable, and there were several moments this past season where it became a huge benefit for Houston. Because in some of those games, the offensive output was sluggish, the starting lineup sometimes became a little bit discouraged, sometimes guys would fall asleep on their defensive rotations, just the energy was a bit low, and opponents would take advantage of that. Then when Coach Udoka subbed Tari in, everything would change and the momentum will quickly shift into Houston's favor. And Eason proved that you don't need to score a bucket to really uplift your team. Now granted, the Rockets team for this upcoming season is much more different because they got Kevin Durant. And I am aware that there's a possibility Coach Udoka might slide Tari Eason into the starting lineup. I'm not sure how, maybe he might just put KD as the 2. But I feel like that would just be kind of a waste of Tari's abilities, because Tari off the bench will make Houston a threat the entire game. But anyways, that's my whole argument for Tari as a 6th man, and it could be possible one day. Next up, we have Most Improved Player, and quite a shocking conclusion. Even I myself was pretty surprised that I even thought of this. My selection for Most Improved is Kevin Porter Jr. If you would have told me that I would think of anything like this, even like 8 months ago, I mean, I would be pretty concerned, like what train of thoughts led to this idea, because after he left Houston, he didn't really do himself any favor with off the court stuff. And it was quite weird because there were several headlines where it said that Kevin Porter Jr. was guilty, and then there were more headlines coming out where his girlfriend was like, yeah, that's not true, I don't know what they're talking about. But overall, it was not really the greatest thing for him. At least that's the nicest way I could put it. And then when he signed with the Clippers, hey, he wasn't terrible, I guess. Like, he would always hit middies, and occasionally he would have some nice dunks and layups, but it was never consistent enough to the point where I could see him as a consistent rotational piece. But then when he signed to Milwaukee, that's when everything started to turn around. That's when I started to have these train of thoughts. Because it's one thing to just put up solid minutes, you know, just do good enough while Damian Lillard and the rest of the starters are on the bench. But it's another thing to make so much of an impact where an argument could be made that Kevin Porter Jr. was the better point guard. And that happened so many times. Damian Lillard, he was so inconsistent offensively because sometimes he would look like the Dame we are all used to in Portland, and other times be an inefficient shot chucker. His lack of playmaking and defense also did him no favors. But do you know who makes up for those areas? Kevin Porter Jr. He is a much better playmaker, much better defender. I would say he's amongst the best in Milwaukee's group along with Gary Trent Jr. and Giannis. Add that to the fact that his scoring became much more consistent because not only were his mid-ranges automatic, he would drive and penetrate the lane more effectively, and he actually started hitting his threes. He was attempting the same amount of three-pointers as he did with the Clippers, except that now it's at 40%. That to me sounds like a player who provides much better value and has almost mastered all three areas of the floor. In terms of his playmaking and defense, I don't want to exaggerate too much because it's not like he was an elite floor general and it's not like he was blocking players down, but I still think he did just enough in both areas. He's very capable of making the right reads while also pushing the pace more and finding open teammates, which trust me, Milwaukee needed a lot more considering their age group wasn't really the youngest. Add that with him being tasked with the toughest assignments, and I was quite surprised by how much he gave them such a hard time. Guys like James Harden and Trae Young, it wasn't easy for them. And just when you think there wasn't more to like to his game, he has quite a few nice intangibles. He knows when to box out his opponents, he can be in the right spots for grabbing boards, and he doesn't jump a lot on pump fakes. Milwaukee got themselves a steal. Especially when Dame went down with that unfortunate Achilles injury, Kevin Porter Jr. was the main guard that got most of the playing time. Which is a nice segue to this upcoming season where it looks like he'll get that starting spot again. After waiving Damian Lillard to acquire Miles Turner, that leaves the Bucks guard rotation with KPJ, Ryan Rollins, and Cole Anthony. And no offense to the other two, but Cole is a bit undersized and Ryan Rollins isn't as complete offensively as KPJ is. And if all the accounts reporting that KPJ will be the starting point guard moving forward are true, then I don't see why it's not possible for him to be that third option behind Giannis and Turner. I would see 17 points per game and 18 points per game as a worthy jump in most improved talks. Because I feel like it's not a fluke that he was recording 20-point games off the bench. Because what I saw from the amount of mid-rangers and layups is a guy knowing his strengths, going to those strengths, and knowing when to select his spots. He can also force the issue as well and force a couple of free throws. And the biggest X factor, his 3-point shooting. It's a pretty inconsistent thing with him, but considering how much teams are willing to double team Giannis, KPJ has to be up to the challenge, and at least 35 to 40% range would be ideal. Again, I wouldn't be shocked to see some drawback and criticism with this idea. It is a lot of banking on potential and hypothetical scenarios. However, I wouldn't really bring this up if he hadn't shown that it was possible in the past. And I feel like it's even more perfect now that he's hitting his prime. He's much more improved than what he was in his Houston and Cleveland days, and I feel like he'll improve even more. Finally, last but not least, we have MVP. Obviously the toughest one because so many worthy candidates. SGA can likely repeat. Jokic is always insane. Giannis is also a name appearing in these conversations, but I always see him putting up these insane numbers, and then the media is always like, must have been the wind. So while I understand that all of those players have great cases, to me it kind of boiled down to two players. I'll first present the runner-up, which I have is Jalen Brunson. Now yes, I understand that the Eastern Conference will always be weaker than the Western Conference, but given the fact that the Knicks have the chance to be the number 1 seed, that's still being the top of the conference that you're representing. I still think it's a worthy achievement, and it is known that he is the captain, he will be the one in charge. I would say why not, because he has the efficiency and potential increase in shot attempts to show for it. The only drawbacks are Coach Brown's scheme. It might be different than the usual heliocentric offense that Brunson is accustomed to. There have been a few reports where Brunson admitted he was struggling to adjust to the game plan, and obviously there's no doubt that he would overcome those struggles as the season approaches. That just leads me to believe that, we might see less responsibility or less of a burden of scoring on Brunson's shoulders. So that leads to the question of, who do you have as your MVP? And man, this was kind of conflicting because I didn't believe this was possible at first. But could this be Luka Doncic's time finally? And the reason why I thought that it wouldn't be possible because he averaged a 33-point triple-double, and he wasn't even number 2, he was number 3 in MVP rankings. You average a 33-point triple-double when teammates like Kyrie Irving, Derek Lively have missed multiple games, and you only get number 3? I'm like, and yet so many narratives and storylines work so well for him. We can first start off that he's in a bigger market. No matter what the Lakers do, no matter what moves they make or how they perform in game, they will always be in the spotlight. And when you look at the surrounding roster, they don't really blow you away. They lost Dorian Finney-Smith to free agency, which I consider as a huge loss. And many in the NBA community are pretty skeptical of what Marcus Smart and DeAndre Ayton can bring. But to those skepticisms, I retort with, if anyone can maximize the potential and lead a somewhat mediocre squad to big heights, it's Luka Doncic. He's one of the select few that is capable of that. And just as importantly, we're coming off the season where he was in that, I don't even know what to describe, he was just in that trade. So no doubt he's looking for revenge. We could see him go for 30 points per game. Like, that is a feasible scenario. Especially with LeBron missing the beginning portions of the season, that's even more of an opportunity. Now, I'm not saying that first seed in the Western Conference is a guarantee. Definitely not. It's much tougher conference than before. But to get somewhere from 4th to 2nd seed, is that really impossible? Because I don't really think so. And Luka is definitely capable of leading LA to that position. So yeah, that's my whole spiel on who I think will win these NBA awards. I can't deny there's a lot of craziness, but this was still a lot of fun nonetheless. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, who you think will win these awards. If you have any hypothetical scenarios yourself, am I reaching too far? Am I a little bit too crazy? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.